Welcome, you curious explorer, to another deep dive.
Great to be here.
Today we're heading into a really captivating spot in southeastern Minnesota, John A. Latch State Park. Get ready, because we're going to uncover some amazing views, a pretty remarkable personal story, and, well, lots of natural wonders.
Yeah, and it's all packed into a space that's perfect for an enriching day trip.
Exactly. It's just a little way north of Winona, right there on Highway 61.
That's right. And like you said, it might seem small on the map, but the experience it offers is, well, genuinely rewarding.
Especially for listeners like you, keen on digging into the stories and the science behind the places we explore.
Definitely. This one's got a bit of everything.
Okay, so let's start with the name. John A. Latch. Who was the man behind the park?
Right. So John A. Latch, he was a pretty significant figure in Winona, born back in 1860, made his fortune as a wholesale grocer.
A businessman, okay.
Yeah, but he's really remembered more as a very influential conservationist. People described him as humble, maybe a bit eccentric, and incredibly charitable.
Humble and eccentric sounds interesting. What got him into conservation then? Was there a specific moment?
There absolutely was, and it's quite a story. He was out canoeing on the Mississippi, and a sudden lightning storm blew up. He tried to pull ashore for safety, but the landowner actually refused him shelter.
No way. Turned away in a storm.
Can you imagine? But that negative experience kind of lit a fire under him.
I bet. So what did he do?
His immediate response was, well, decisive. He bought that exact piece of property.
Just like that?
Just like that. And then, crucially, he donated it to the state.
Wow. Talk about turning a bad situation into something positive.
Well,
But it didn't stop there, did it? It wasn't just that one parcel.
oh, not at all. That was really just the beginning. Over his life, Latch ended up gifting somewhere around 20,000 acres.
20,000 acres.
Yeah, huge tracts of land across both Minnesota and Wisconsin. Even land for city parks right in Winona.
That's an incredible contribution to public land.
It really is. And it all stemmed from that one moment on the river.
Yeah.
It really makes you pause and think about how one person's actions can have such a lasting impact, you know?
Absolutely. And his influence spread beyond just the land donations, didn't it? I read something about him inspiring others.
You're right. His dedication really resonated. A key example is a man named Will Dilg. He was a businessman from Chicago, loved fishing up near Winona.
Okay.
And he was so inspired by what Latch was doing that Dilg went on to found the Isaac Walton League.
Ah, the Isaac Walton League. That's
Yeah.
a major name in American conservation history.
Exactly. And they became this powerful voice, especially early on, pushing Congress to set up fish refuges along the Mississippi.
Why was that so critical then?
Well, there were big plans at the time for draining parts of the river, building more locks and dams, things that really threatened the natural ecosystem.
Right, changing the whole dynamic of the river.
Precisely. So the League's advocacy, their push for policy changes, really laid the foundation for a lot of conservation successes we benefit from today.
So there's a direct line, almost.
You could argue that, yeah. I mean, the National Wildlife Refuge system we have now, all 562 of them, owes a part of its existence to the vision of those Isaac Walton League founders,
Wow.
who in turn drew inspiration directly from John Latch's pioneering work right there on the Mississippi.
That's incredible. From a canoe trip in a storm to national policy. Okay, so Latch himself is fascinating. But the park itself, the scenery is stunning, right?
Yeah.
Tell us about the geology. What shaped those bluffs?
Oh, the landscape is dramatic. You've got these bluffs just soaring more than 500 feet straight up from the Mississippi River.
Tough, right, could you?
Yeah, and geologically, what you're seeing are the ends of ridges, basically. They've been cut off by deep gullies carved out over time. Imagine, like, fingers of land pointing towards the river.
So they weren't always isolated bluffs.
Exactly. The tops of these bluffs are all at roughly the same level as the surrounding plain stretching west. And if you look near the crests, those high vertical cliffs, they're made of the same limestone layers, the exact same ones that cap the bluffs all the way from Red Wing, Minnesota down to the Iowa border.
So it's a continuous formation, geologically speaking.
It was. These layers were originally flat, horizontal. They stretched right across the current river valley into Wisconsin, and of course, across the gullies within the park itself.
So what carved it all up?
Water. Immense amounts of water over a very long time. Specifically, the glacial Mississippi River.
The glacial Mississippi, how was that different?
Think volume. Unimaginable volumes of meltwater. You had glacial Lake Duluth draining through the St. Croix Valley.
Okay.
The massive Lake Agassiz draining down through the Minnesota River Valley via Glacial River Warren, plus meltwater from other glacial lakes up north, all that water funneling down the Mississippi.
That sounds like a seriously powerful river.
It was. It carved a channel much, much deeper than the one we see today.
How much deeper are we talking?
Well, drilling done for the dam locks nearby showed the ancient riverbed was over 150 feet lower than the current one.
150 feet deeper.
Yeah. So the valley floor you see now is actually built up with all this silt, sand, and gravel that's been deposited since the glaciers melted. The river essentially filled its old channel back in.
Mind-boggling scale. Is there anything else unique about the rock layers up top?
Yes, actually. Right near the top edge of those limestone cliffs, there's often a layer of something called loess. L-O-E-S-S.
Loess. What's that?
It's basically wind-blown silt. Super fine particles, like dust, almost.
Wind-blown, not river sediment.
Nope, carried by wind. The source was the fine debris, the rock flour, left behind as glaciers melted. The wind picked up this dust and deposited it across the landscape.
Glacial dust, carried by wind, forming part of the bluff top.
Wow.
What's it like?
It tends to be yellowish, not layered like river deposits. Texture-wise, it's finer than sand, but coarser than clay, made of tiny bits of quartz, feldspar, other minerals.
And it has a special property, right?
It does. What's really interesting is that even though it's just silt, loess can stand up and really steep, almost vertical cliffs. You see it in road cuts sometimes.
Fascinating stuff. So these bluffs tell quite a geological story. And they were important landmarks too, weren't they, for riverboats?
They absolutely were. The three main rocky bluffs in the park, they have names: Faith, Hope, and Charity.
Faith, hope, and charity. Nice.
Yeah. And for the steamboat captains navigating the tricky currents and bends of the Mississippi, those prominent bluffs were crucial visual aids. Real lifesavers, probably.
I can imagine. And the park trail goes up one of them.
Yeah.
Charity.
That's the one. The Riverview Trail climbs Charity Bluff. It's listed as half a mile each way.
Half a mile sounds easy enough.
But don't let the distance fool you. It's steep. We're talking packed dirt and over 300 stairs.
Okay, 300 stairs in half a mile, that's definitely a climb.
It's a workout for sure, but the payoff.
Oh, the payoff is incredible.
Like the views, I assume. Spectacular panoramic views. You see the whole sweep of the Mississippi Valley, the wildlife refuge below, Lockin' Dam number 5. It's just breathtaking up there.
Sounds like it's absolutely worth the climb.
Yeah.
Good footwear is probably essential.
Definitely recommended. It's a strenuous height.
Okay, shifting from geology to biology. What about the plants and animals? It's on the Mississippi, so I'm guessing birds are a big deal.
Huge deal. The park sits smack dab in the middle of the Mississippi Flyway.
Right, the major migration highway.
Exactly. So spring and fall, it's just buzzing. It's a critical stopover point for countless migrants, warblers, flycatchers, orioles, sparrows, thrushes, you name it.
A birdwatcher's paradise during migration, then.
Oh, absolutely. And it's not just the migrants. Peregrine falcons have been nesting successfully on those cliff faces since the mid-'80s.
Peregrines. That's fantastic.
It really is. And if you hike that river overlook trail, the woodlands and the bluff edges provide great habitat for breeding birds too, like tanagers, various flycatchers, woodpeckers.
So, lots to see and hear. What about bigger animals?
Raptors.
Mammals.
Keep an eye out for soaring birds, eagles, hawks, vultures. They love using the thermal updrafts near the bluffs.
Riding the air currents.
Yep. And on the ground, you might see signs of, or even spot, coyotes, foxes, opossums, definitely white-tailed deer. Look for tracks along the trail.
Always exciting to see wildlife signs. Okay, let's talk practicalities. If someone wants to visit, what amenities are there? Is there camping?
There's a nice picnic area down at the base of the bluff. It's got tables, fire rings, even a grill. Perfect for a break before or after the hike.
Sounds good. But no overnight camping within this park itself.
Correct. No campgrounds in John A. Latch. For that, you'd need to look at nearby parks.
Like Whitewater State Park?
Exactly. Whitewater is close by and has more facilities, including a visitor center and naturalist programs, which this park doesn't have.
Good to know. Is there an entry fee for Latch?
Nope. Another bonus, a vehicle permit is not required for John A. Latch State Park.
That's great. Any key rules? Pets? Firewood?
Standard stuff, mostly. Pets are welcome, but they have to be on a 6-foot leash, and you need to clean up after them, of course.
Right.
Firewood's important because of invasive species. You have to use wood bought either at the park or from an approved local vendor. You can't gather firewood there.
Okay, protect the forest. Makes
Yeah.
sense. And the river itself. Can people access it easily?
The park provides access related to the Mississippi River State Water Trail. For detailed maps and info on that, the DNR website, mndnr.gov Water Trails, is the place to go.
Perfect. And for general park questions?
The main Minnesota DNR Info Center number is 888-646-6367, or check the website, mndnr.gov Parks.
Oh, and one little tip for Passport Club members.
Yes.
The stamp for John A. Latch isn't actually at Latch. You get it stamped at nearby Whitewater State Park.
Ah, good insider info. Lastly, best time to visit. Any seasonal things to be aware of?
Fall is absolutely stunning. The colors from the bluff tops are supposed to be incredible.
And spring and fall, as we said, are prime time for bird migration. Just remember, the terrain is steep, and it doesn't have the extensive trail systems or amenities of some bigger parks nearby, like Great River Bluffs or Frontenac.
So manage expectations, but expect great views and a good climb.
Exactly.
Okay, let's wrap this up. John A. Latch State Park. It really sounds like a gem. We've got dramatic geology, this amazing story of John Latch, the conservationist, fantastic birding, and those knockout views, all packed into a pretty manageable park.
Definitely. And that feeling when you reach the top of Charity Bluff after putting in the effort, that vista of the Mississippi Valley is something you won't forget.
So for you listening, if you're looking for a rewarding day trip in that part of Minnesota, maybe something that combines history, nature, and a bit of a workout, John A. Latch sounds like a perfect candidate.
Yeah, maybe even pair it with a visit to Whitewater or Great River Bluffs for a fuller regional experience.
Makes sense.
And it leaves us with a thought, doesn't it? Reflecting on people like John Latch. His impact is still felt today, preserving these spaces for all of us.
Right.
It makes you wonder, what small actions could you take in your own community to support conservation, to help ensure these kinds of places are around for future generations to explore and appreciate?
A powerful thought to end on. Something to ponder maybe while you're taking in those Mississippi views yourself someday.